How many of you were here 3 years ago when I started? Just raise your, just pop your hand up or whatever, or just speak up. Not too many. Okay. All right. So look, one. So I did a lot of videos. Let's see. Some people will be removed from this start anyway. Okay. No problem. So those of you who don't know me, I've been with Forsus about 3 years, and I mean literally 3 years and 2 days. And I started in a capacity of just basically helping with the growth of the company in at the start of COVID. Literally started at the start of COVID. In tough times, everything was very difficult to get started. So my journey with Forsus started out, quite honestly, helping with growing some new business opportunities, client facing, which has been why I've end up having the role I have right now. I really don't care about titles. I just want you to guys know that, and I don't want you to think that just because I got a big 3-letter title, that means something. What it means is that I really care about the Forces, and what I care about is the growth of this company. Okay, and I care about the success of the teams, and those of you who work with me will get to know that when I say something, I mean it. Okay, I'm very direct. I'll go head on when things. So when I came on board, I saw that there was we needed quite a bit of marketing, and the first opportunity for marketing was the precast industry. So we did Jensen precast business. Some of you, I think, may have been involved in that, and then we ended up doing a bunch of videos, and I became the video guy. I was the face of Forsus for if you just go to Forsus page on YouTube, you'll see all the videos I've done, and I ended up starting wearing my hat I actually wore a construction hat initially because it was a construction site. The whole thing was about imaging on and connecting with our customer in a way where they understand, which is construction business and tech guy wearing a construction hat. That kind of stuck, but I actually wear the hat not because of that, because I used to take my hat off and do videos and all that. I'm one of those guys who now classic Indian problem, male problem, we're slightly balding. So I have a little vulnerability I can share with you guys. So I wear a hat, and my theory is when my hair's all gone, the hat's coming off. Okay, so I share the vulnerability with you guys. Okay, it's okay to be vulnerable with each other. So I'll start that process. Okay, so those of you who have never seen me without my hat, you probably won't till the hair comes off. Okay. All right, so I wanted to meet you guys and get to know you all on a personal basis on many levels, because I know there's a lot been going on, and there's 35 people on this call. Probably will not have a lot of one-on-one time, and I will offer anybody who does connect with what I'm saying and want to know more. I'll be happy to share more. I always have a lot to share. I grew in my career by helping other people, by somebody helped me grow. So I make a point to make extra effort in my time in my career to share what I know and share what's gone on, so I can help people avoid mistakes I've made. Okay, so that's my core DNA. Is I like to be helpful and help people grow. Okay, now why am I on this call? Couple of things. Okay, so let me share some things. I put a presentation deck together, and I would appreciate if you do have questions that we actually use the chat board and put messages in there. If you do have a question and I catch your hand, I'll try to get into it. But I want to go through some materials to really stimulate some thinking around what's going on. Okay, I've been in the industry, in the IT industry since I was 19. Actually, yep, 19, and I'm 63 years old today. I'm 62 in January. So I've been doing this for about more than 40 years, but that's not the reason why I'm not any smarter than you. Okay, the reason why I grew in my career is because I learned to change. Okay, I learned to change, and people go, how can an old guy like you still be so relevant in current technology? It's because my core DNA was I learned to change. I learned to grow. Okay, and the other thing I did was I grew faster than my neighbor. Okay, you have to be. If come on, there's some competition. Of course, you guys are all working in an industry, tech industry. There's this competition. Why would somebody hire you over the next person? Okay, and I share some of my lessons with you guys because I read a book when I was, I don't know, the book came out a long time ago. There's version 3 of the book came out. It's called The World is Flat by Thomas Friedman. And Thomas Friedman was a New York Times bestseller. I mean, he's a I guess one of the article writers. He has written many books, and back in I think in the original dot-com bomb, dot-com era, 2000s, he wrote a book called The World is Flat, and I would highly recommend you guys look it up. And I've got a PowerPoint deck. I will share it. There are links in it. You can look it up, so you don't have to write it all down right now. Okay. And the thing that impressed me about that book was about how the world is changing. And back then, outsourcing and a lot of things were popular, and India was gaining a lot of popularity and growth in tech and all that. So it really hit home, but that the message he delivered in that book, and it's worth going through the journey to understand it. It's actually a book about the 20th century, how the 20th century has changed and why it's changing faster than what we can expect. And that all that was about us changing, right? And it wasn't about us doing one job. You know, we all have jobs, we have roles, and we think we are one thing. And reality is we stick with that, and we build identity around that one thing. Okay, I would highly recommend you read that book, because one of the things you will learn is to be multidisciplined and multi faceted in your knowledge, in your technology. Okay, otherwise you will be obsolete. Okay, I'm not obsolete in my job because I did that. And I didn't do it because I read the book. I did it because that's just how my mind worked. I always progressed and made myself capable of doing other things. And I learned from other people, and I helped other people along the way, right? So my personal DNA really connects with that book. So if you like, read the book. The thing that got me is the second thing in my life is I have two boys. They're now older. There's the 34 and 30. And my youngest son went to robotics, and he was in high school, and I'd never done robotics. I come with a computer science background, so I ended up going to the school and helped out in the school. And the thing that really got me about robotics was that it encapsulates that message, multidiscipline. So if you're building, how many of you have experience in exposure to robotics? Anybody? Just raise your hand. Yeah. So Venkat, excellent. So I can't see everybody, but in the room, if there's, where's everybody in the room? Your camera's off. I can't see you guys in the room. Let me see if I can can somebody speak in the room? I want to just pin your screen as well. Okay, well, that's okay. I since some of you are in the room. Robotics represents the encapsulation of three different types of technologies to actually make things work. It encapsulates computer science, electrical engineering, and mechanical engineering. And that was really an interesting lesson for me, because and it was right about the time that my sons were growing up, and I started helping in robotics, and it became very apparent that when you're solving a robot problem and it's going in one direction, and let's just say it's got its wheels and it's like a battle bots or whatever, right? And the robot tends to drift. How do you make the robot go straight? You can take it mechanical, you can look at the friction and you can see what's going on, or you can possibly go into the electricals. You can write a program to change the electrical current that's going into the motors and change the torque on the motors to make the torque be different, right? So it's all about changing the way the robot tracks, and use many different ways to solve that problem. But if you gave this problem to a computer science guy, he'll only solve it through computer software. Okay, you give this problem to an electrical engineer, he'll look at the electrical current and the circuitry and all that, and see why the one motor is running faster, the one hotter than the other, or this drag. Or the mechanical guy will start lubricating everything and try, right? The reality is, multidiscipline thinking is critical thinking, because it allows you to see a problem in many different ways. Okay? And why am I sharing this story with you guys? Okay. The story to me is really relevant because I look at our jobs in tech and forces, and the differentiator that we are in the company is, why would somebody come do business with Forces? I'm the face to the customer for Forces for my clients, right? You guys are doing all the work. Okay, seriously, and I'm going to give you some accolades in a second. I just want to get into the core thinking here. The the whole thing about going is, a customer making decisions about working with us as a company is about who they feel like understands their problem. And if you come into a room and you see the problem from one lens, in reality they're seeing it from another lens and they don't connect with you. Okay. But if you come into a discipline and you see the problem from a similar lens or another lens that gives them new perspective, you're adding some value to them, and you can actually bring best practices and change your processes and how to think of how to solve a problem. You will actually get a much better reaction from your client that way. Okay. And I see that day in and day out. I've been doing consulting in my career for a long time. You can understand, when you're in front of leadership or even an engineers, they want to know that you know your stuff and that you can think out of the box, because they can go to another company and do business and who's got another body who's just sit in a chair. Okay. And if they just want one answer and some guy who's going to say yes or no, or a woman who says yes or no, then they'll be the yes man or yes woman. Okay. But being a critical thinker is a key part of not only the DNA of Forsus, and this is one of the reasons why we're creating solution packs as we start building our products and differentiating ourselves from our competitors. Okay, so I share all these concepts with you guys because I think the challenges that I hear are on the Hitachi Vantara project are not endless. They have a finite set of problems. It feels like it's endless, but they can be licked with multidiscipline thinking. Okay. Hitachi Energy and Vantara coming, right? I'm working on Vantara as well. So let me share some things I want to share with you guys, okay? And if you can queue up your Q&A, I'll try and put it on another screen so I can catch them, okay? Let's see here. First of all, I want to start with a little bit of appreciation for what day today is and what you guys are doing. Some of you guys may be celebrating today, and I appreciate the fact you spend some time with me instead of out there having some laddus and celebration. Okay, hold on. Yeah, I have lost my ability to see you guys, so I'm going to go through the deck. So I'm not going to be able to see your camera. So your cameras so if you want to drop your cameras, that's fine. So first of all, Eid Mubarak. I understand that this is a holiday. Today it's technically going into Friday. So if you're on this call, I appreciate that very much. But those of you who celebrate Eid, happy Eid to you. But I want to also celebrate what you all have done for Forsus. As many of you all have been on this project on that should say Hitachi Energy, by the way, not Vantara, the Hitachi Energy team. The Hitachi Energy team has been working on innovations, and obviously we got the innovation award. How many of you actually did? I'm going to go this way, guys. Give me 1 second. I need to. Pardon me, just 1 second. My screens are screwed up. Okay, I'm going to go this way. Darn it. And I don't have enough time to change my screens. Okay, so I'm going to fix it while I can, I guess. Vantara is not done yet, just starting, okay? So those of you who worked on the Hitachi Energy e-commerce and also support the client from behind the scenes, we got an innovation award for partner award, and this is the Hitachi success story. I don't know if you all each of you saw the LinkedIn post. We did a stream from Conga Connect, where your main customer liaison over here, Sandeep. He spoke with Srinivas on stage, and we were main stage at Conga Connect. We got a lot of accolades for what the work you guys are doing on this program. So it's very important for you to know that if you are behind the scenes doing a lot of work and you feel like it's there are days when you're not feeling like you're making a difference. This is the result. Sandeep was very, very complimentary to Forsus for being a partner, and struggles aside, It's a huge win for Hitachi as an overall company, and it brings forces to the forefront for us to do a lot more business. So you guys made a huge difference. Okay. Now I want you to talk about success. So that was a success story, and most people forget that it takes dedication, hard work, good habits, and yes, we have disappointments, failures, and it takes persistence to get through the success story, right? So most people forget that it takes that much effort to do this, and there's a lot of people get involved to move that iceberg, or at least the iceberg be visible on the top. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the typical team profile. Once again, because I cannot see your hands anymore, the screen's gone. I'm just going to talk a little about my observation and what I've seen on most complex teams, large scale teams, complex projects, is every team goes through this process. Okay. Every team goes through a phase of forming. This is when you basically, establish who the team members are, get together, and then you end up with forming, and then you go through the storming phase where you start discovering your personal identities, versus the collective goals, and then you end up normalizing that process into building teamwork, moving forward beyond the personal interests to the common interests, and then that brings you guys to a common vision and goal and execution and handoff and handshake between all the pieces of the puzzle that have to come together, and that's really when the magic happens. Most companies never achieve the performing stage when they have teams that are fighting with each other. Okay. And if you don't go through the norming phase, you're never going to get to the performing phase. If you think you're going to work hard to make up for the difference and you never actually normed, you're never really not going to hit the total potential of the team in the performing stage. Okay. Now, and when I say team, I mean the team in the context what I started this conversation, which is having a multidisciplinary team that can work together. Okay. And I'm going to cover some of those concepts. Okay. So let me just break this down a little bit. The forming it's friendly and no one trusts. No, there's really no trust here. Everybody's very polite, and there's maybe no roles and responsibilities fully gelled yet. The processes may or may not be followed, but it's that whole thing about team coming together, and it's just starting to get to understand how and what the goals are before you can even start to work together. The storming is when you go through, you start getting suggest ideas, making relationships, but they're also broken because you get stuck in the personal identity versus the collective need and the collective thinking that needs to happen to get the best of all ideas on the table and work together towards a common goal. And of course, the norming, like I said, is when we all agree to the rules, we all understand our roles and responsibilities, and we take a step back, and we don't lose focus on the end game, and the game is what the in this and a lot of IT work is obviously what's in the statement of work, but beyond that is delighting the customer, right? And then, of course, not all groups make it to the stage, but if you if you actually get past the norming stage and you can you might see evidence of performing in the norming stage, but it's never the highest quality of performing that you could achieve as a collective team functioning on all 8 cylinders, if you use a car analogy. Okay. So not to say that people will never get there, but the point is performing is a state in which most things that show, even if performing doesn't mean you have no problems. Performing means you know how to handle the problem, and we allowed to have demarcations on how we support each other to fall through respect, collaboration, communication, and keep the vision in mind. Always keeping the vision in mind. Okay. So I'm not going to go through this eye chart, but there are some interesting points here. It's the same stuff and I'm going to talk about the storming phase. A lot of teams start with ideal thing is you end up with you go with the storming phase. The sooner you can go from forming to storming, the sooner you're going to hit the goals of working together as a team on the project. Now, the Hitachi Energy team on the project side and all the services side and the support, you guys may be doing mini versions of these because you have many teams and not everybody's under one big group, right? So you have various teams coming together to make things happen, but it's a collective execution of all the teams together that really is the story for Hitachi Energy, and that's a story that was being told by Sandeep in front of the stage. It brings a collective team of forces to bring this together, but it's also forces in Kaga as well. Okay, so resistance is expected in this stage, lack of participation, conflict, competition, high ambitions, I'm right, you're right, that all those what I call things about, or what I call, quite frankly, the stuff that's in red is all ego. Everything is about ego. If you can get through your ego and work on a collective vision and support each other and be more heart-centered about what you do, then the ego will just melt away and you start moving into the norming phase. You become more members engaged to support each other. Members develop a tight cohesion with each other. Okay. I'm going to give you these decks so you can read the details behind this. I'm not going through every word on these slides. Okay. Now, my question here is, where are you? Okay. I'm going to actually switch the slide so I can actually see you guys. Okay. So where are you guys on your journey? Okay. So put in the chat with a number, basically forming, storming, norming, performing, 1, 2, 3, 4. Put in the chat, where do you think your team is right now? Okay. And by the way, I appreciate everybody doing the survey. All 33, almost 33 out of 35 of you guys got the survey done before this meeting. I'm going to show you the survey results. So wait till the end.
1, 2, 3, 4.
You can put 1, 2, 3, 4 or type it in, whichever word. You use the words. It's easier to read. It's easier to read. Easier to read. Let me put it on the screen again so you can see it, but I want to get my camera back. Just give me a second. While you guys are doing that, I'm going to get my display going so I can get this done. All right. How are we doing? Let's see. Am I getting... Okay, my network is a little slow, but I'm seeing people put things in, so... Okay, norming. Okay, norming. Okay, now, while you guys are typing norming, I'm going to ask a tough question. Where do you think we should be? Okay, wait, just wait for a second, okay? So why don't you say, instead of just putting another number in there, because I can't read it after the fact, why don't you just say F for future, or I'm sorry, yeah, F for future, or let's just say D for desired. Let's say D and put a number, or say what you desire to be is what space. Say D2 or D3 or D6 or D4, right? Yeah, you want to be performing, right? For you to execute right now and have success in your project, where should we be right now in this phase of the project? You guys are almost over the finish line, right? Right. Okay, I'll save you guys some time. If the answer is not performing, then you guys miss my whole point. Okay. At this stage in the game on the project, y'all should be absolutely in performing mode. Okay. It might feel like you are, but you're telling me that you're not. You're in the norming mode. What's wrong? Okay, you don't have to answer. This is not a test. Okay. All right. So, okay, who's gonna? Okay, I'm gonna go back to my presentation. Is it an interesting exercise to see where you actually think you are? Because guess what, your survey is going to tell you where you really are, right? Where you feel you are. I didn't actually ask the survey questions on the deck. So if I need to share my screen again. I fixed my monitor so I can actually see you guys. Okay. All right, we're going to go back to the deck. I want to show you guys. Okay, so here's so if you guys are primarily saying that you're in the storming phase and you need to be in the performing phase, the depending on the number of team members and the team size, okay, there's no actual math here that says it should take you 1 month or 2 months or 3 months. A team can go from forming to performing in an afternoon. I've experienced it. I actually did an exercise with a team where we were not we were it was a team exercise. We went outside and did some outside games with the team, and the team started out with not knowing each other, and we all came together, and we went from literally from forming all the way to performing, and we did competitions across teams. So when you put it in a game setting and you start doing competitive work like that, you can do that. You can go from forming to performing, as long as you have a common vision and a common goal. Okay. Any fight you guys have with each other in the storming phase will be normalized by a common vision and a common goal, and with the caring of the other person's success with you. Okay. So I encourage you to think about that. Okay. So having said that, that just points out the gap. Okay. Um, I'm not going to go through the slide. This slide actually has some details. It's worth going through when you get the deck, and I'll send you the link after the meeting. There are some strategies on how to switch roles, how to go from one stage to the other. You can see here once again, if the goals are not clear, or the roles are not clear, or if you're in the yellow stage, which is looking at the storming phase, so the orangish yellow. Okay, if if you guys believe you're here, you've got multiple approaches for the processes. You're not unified on your processes. If you look at your goals, you have several goals and agendas. I say goals, but agendas, because there's a little bit of a human element in there. Okay, we all think we're working on a common goal, and your goal might be to, look better than your neighbor. Well, that's not a very much of a heart-centered work ethic. It's more about too much cutthroat competition. We can do that with our competitors outside the building, but not inside the building. We got to work together. Okay. Roles. If your roles are unclear, okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about roles in a minute. If you got leaders and you got way too many chiefs and you got not enough people who can make decision rights and make decisions about what happens, or everybody thinks they're in charge and nobody actually makes a decision, that's also a problem, right? So when you go from the these are the problem statements, and you're looking at the approaches to solve these things. There's definitely some strategies. There's a lot more detail here. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Okay, these are just canned materials off the internet. You can do your own Google searches and find most stuff here. This is not rocket science. Okay, but the most important thing I have experienced in my career is when I have conflict with people, and when I have challenges with people, or I have challenges with my goals or it's people, process, technology. All three of them can burn you, right? Your friends could burn you. Your process can burn you, or your tech can burn you. You don't know enough. You don't feel like you enough. You go in front of customer, and you be too quiet, and the customer goes, this person knows nothing. You have to really put yourself in a position of all of those aspects you have to manage in a way that you can be cohesive in front of your customer. Okay, and I'll give you some strategies on how to do that, and how I've done that is to really always raise my own bar. Okay, raise my bar and challenge myself, and it's a challenger mindset that I want to talk to you guys about. Okay, so I'll give you some language differences. Okay, so you have to reframe where you're coming from. So you're not going to go from one of the phases of the process of team growth to another phase unless you start switching your mindset. And its mindset looks like a big word, but let's talk about it and break it down. Okay, if your language is, oh, I can't do this, I don't know how, it's too hard, I worked on that and it didn't work, I'm no good at all, all the languages, I'm acting like my 2-year-old kids when they were small. Okay, so this is the language that you might feel inside your body, that you feel unsure about what you're doing, or what the challenge is in front of you. Maybe you're a fresher and you're thrown in the middle of something and somebody needs to help you, give you the hand up, right? Maybe you're a super experienced person, you think you're super smart, and no one likes you, right? Because you're too smart, and you haven't actually helped anybody because you just look too good and no one wants to talk to you now. right? So you got to put that side of it too. So how do you switch from the language of I can't to I can? Okay, but it's more than the language. Okay, you can change your language. Language is a process of the brain. Okay, you go through the brain to the mouth connection. What you need to do is go from the heart to the mouth. Okay, switch your brain, to get your ego out of the way, get your titles out of the way. I don't care what your title is in your hiring job position. What I care about and what your neighbor and your coworker is going to care is how is the role you're performing, and are you helping you do that role in the best way that you're the person who you hand the work to downstream or upstream knows how to catch that work. Okay, so that's the mindset you need to have, and it's about, first you need to ask yourself, don't go down this rabbit hole of negative thinking, because the brain will only create more blocks, because the brain's goal is to protect you. Your heart's goal and your capacity for expansion comes from the heart. It doesn't come from the brain. Okay, if you think that you're super smart, you overthink yourself, your ego is going to get in the way. Go into your heart and go into your heart space to generate that. And if you don't believe this, go look up some meditation books that'll explain how this methodology works. Okay, and by the way, I'm not an avid meditator. I'm a wannabe meditator. So I bet some of you guys have many more better practices than me, but I would encourage you to learn a little lesson I learned. Every time I make tough decisions with my peers or with my in my work or in my personal life, with my relationship, when I'm going to my mind and I start solving problems with my mind, I usually poop it up. Okay. When I go into my heart space and I start being open and expansive about creation and being in a place of understanding the human element of this, then we create a different vibration. And the vibration that you project is what creates the relationship, not the brain. You cannot think somebody into liking you. You got to create the field around you to create the people to like you. And when they like you, they'll talk to you, you'll help each other, and you'll carry each other across the battlefield. And you guys are in a battlefield. Okay. All right. So switching from your language is the start of this, and the language starts in the brain. But I'm asking you not stay in the brain. Okay. The fixed mindset is what is represented by the left side. Basically the from and the to. It's really about going from a fixed mindset to expansive. And a fixed mindset is contractive, and a growth mindset is obviously expansive. What does mindset mean? Let me just talk about that. Okay, I got 30 minutes. So I thought I'd share this visual. It's super stupid and it's super easy and it makes sense. And I use the word the thermometer and heat. When there's less heat, there's no expansion. When there's lots of heat, there's expansion. When you guys are working on a tough project, you're going to experience the expansion. If you're in the performing state, you will see that expansion as successes and multiplier effect. If you're in the storming phase and you see the heat, you will crash and burn. And I have done it. I don't say that because I just read a book someplace. I say that because I've experienced this, because I've been in my head, I've been in my ego, in my job title, and all that stuff that goes with that. And I think that, I know more than my next guy, and I had a blind spot and I didn't see it, right? It's when you get under the heat, you need your team members to help you and expand and expand your thinking and expand your mindset. Okay. And how do you do that? Okay. So sorry, these graphics have been expanded, but there you get the idea. Okay. When you look at moving, how do you change your mindset? Mindset is measured by your actions. Okay. And it's really about your behaviors, right? Do you have a mindset of growth? You have a mindset of embracing change. Do you have a mindset of delivering excellence? Those are the mindset, and it's a mental thing, but it is fundamentally changes how you view a problem, and your language will be appropriate, and it'll be more appropriate to the customer as well. Now, and these are philosophical conversations, right? You thought I was going to give you a tech talk, right? The truth is, there's a human element in everything we do here, okay? And this is what, and you guys are working as a team. I want to get to that, okay? So when you look at the professional behaviors, working with people, working, achieving results, managing yourself, managing your interpersonal relationships, managing your language with your with your coworkers at the water cooler or on a chat, and having these private little conversations you may want to have about feasting on each other's fears. Oh, this is a problem, and oh, this is a problem will never go away. You need to change that mindset. You need to take an expansive approach to look at your problem and look at a collaborative way to be able to solve it. Okay. And those are the things that I'm going to ask you to look at. So how do you change your mindset? Okay. But let me ask you what, don't ask the hows first. Always ask the whys. Why are you doing something? So when you look at anything in your life, there's a book, there's a gentleman by the name of Simon Sinek. I should put his name on the reference. Simon Sinek um, did a really amazing video 10, 15 years ago, and he's become super popular. He's a big speechwriter and talker. He wrote the book, Always Ask Why. Start with the whys, okay? Ask, why are you doing this? Don't just close your mind and say, because my boss told me, right? I'm not saying challenge everything, but I'm saying is always know the whys. Why are you doing this? This is the common goal and common vision thing, okay? And so the whys are the most important. I would say if there's only one why that I have you guys think about in the what's in it for you. Yeah, you got a paycheck to come to Forces, right? You have fun working. Somebody gives you some money. Somebody gives you some time off and have a good time. Blah blah blah. Why are you doing this, right? And I ask the same question, right? You do it because the whys for changing a mindset is really comes right back to you. It helps you grow your career. This goes back what I started my conversation with. Why did Thomas Friedman write that book, in the year 1999 or 2000, whenever he wrote that, about the whys? He wrote the whys, but he also talked about multidiscipline and multidiscipline skills in technology, knowing you will not survive unless you have multiple disciplines. So for example, as you all know, we have a career path. So as you come in as a fresher, you go through, and if you're a developer, let's just say, or a business analyst, and you end up going up the knowledge tree, and you start learning the foundations, you may need to learn Salesforce admin, you may need to learn CPQ, you may need to learn business operations, you may need to learn how to run programs, you may need to learn how to manage clients. All the stack of learning, whether it's technical learning or it is business function or what it is non-technical learning, all that has a knowledge stack. I don't sit in this chair today because I was given a title and I only do one thing. I do all the other things I learned before, and I stack it. Okay. So when you're doing your job and your role, forget about your title. I will bless everybody on this call and say, today everybody is consultant 1 through N. I don't care what your number is. Okay. If and what your HR title is for this job and what this for the role you play on the project is not relevant. What's relevant is your role, and what's relevant is your experience. If I'm a CEO of a company and I'm asked to come in and clean the toilets one day or wash the floors, I can do it because I started knowing how to wash the floors, and I can also be a CEO or whatever. So the point is, you play the role the team needs you to play. Okay, you play your role, but you don't just stay in the sandbox. That's the key thing. You play your role, and everybody says, "Oh, you got to play your role. You got to follow the process." Yes, you do, but you also got to be innovative and you got to be collaborative. So don't just forget that you were a business analyst. Now you're, a developer, and you forgot being a BA. You absolutely count on your BA skills to be a better developer, and vice versa if it came in your career in the other direction, or a project manager and you actually came from a BA background, or you came from as a project manager from outside the company and you don't know the domain, and you're coming in and now you're having to learn the business, right? So all those things relate, right? So you need to build a stack and leverage your stack. So don't assume that you forgot and I only do this, I only do that, because when you become multi-skilled, multidisciplined, you become highly valued, not only to your peers, but to yourself right here in the career growth and success. And you will adapt easily to trends. This is a story of my career. I've survived mainframes, then micros, PCs, Linux, Unix, and web, and now the AI stuff is coming, right? I have survived every generation of technology because I personally have challenged myself in my career every day to innovate my job and help somebody because they help me. I help them, they help me. Pay it forward. Okay. The mental and emotional growth came from that. I have great satisfaction in my job to come to work every day because I don't hate it. Okay, I really enjoy doing this work, right? And I hope that you feel the same way. And if you don't, and this is just a job for you to do, and you got other interests, I have tons of other interests. Okay, some of it showed up on this call today. You can tell that I'm a mindset guy. I'm a heart-centered guy. I like to challenge people, open your mind and open your thinking and open your heart first. Okay, so hopefully you get some of that from me. Okay, but living in your life in the fullest, right? And we're all here to be impactful in our lives because we're only here for a few years, and maybe you get recycled, come back as something that even bigger and better. Okay. Yes, I do believe in recycling. All right. I want to talk specifically about mindset behaviors. So when you're making changes in your mindset, I want to talk about 3 major areas today. We can have another breakout session and we can do another session on these others. But I want, when I interview people, I interview them and I ask a lot of questions that are non-technical that go against this. I can ask technical questions as well because I come from an engineering background, right? I used to write programs as well, and I've gone through all the stack. So I know enough to know when somebody's bullshitting me. But I also know that if you cannot teach some people this stuff here, you either have it or you have the right mindset or you don't, and you're fit for the company or you're not. Okay. And you need to evaluate yourself. I would challenge you personally to look at this when you get the sheet and ask yourself in a quiet room one day, just maybe tomorrow, you got a weekend coming up, where, if you score yourself on a 1 to 5 on all of these, where would you stand? Where would you stand on your personal behaviors? Okay. You don't have to answer to anybody. Answer to yourself. Okay. And I encourage you to look at these. Now let's talk about empathy. Okay. These are not in any particular order. I think it's maybe just alphabetical or whatever. Right? No, it's not. U comes before whatever. So they're in whatever order it was written up. Empathy. Build rapport and puts others to ease. Ask yourself the question, how many of you, just go through the exercises with me, okay? This is not, you don't need to answer. How many do you actually feel like you genuinely help your team help build rapport in your team and puts others at ease as opposed to making them nervous that, oh, the sky's falling? Okay. How many of you understand the intentions of others? I have not met somebody in my long tenure in working in IT that somebody comes to the office every day and says, I'm going to fuck this up. Pardon my French. Okay. So I have yet to meet somebody that says, I'm going to come in here and destroy my job. I'm going to destroy my coworker's job. No one does that. I've yet to see that. No one is vindictive like that. People do things because they think they're doing things for either, like I said, because the ego, and they've got that program running. It's like an iPhone. Ego is like all these programs running in the brain. When you try to have a quiet moment and you do meditation, and all those voices are playing in your head, read a book. Read a book called it'll come to me. It just escaped. There's a book that helped me quiet that noise. But all those voices that are saying those things are really there to just ask you things to protect you from failure, and they're not there to expand you. Okay, so be careful. Don't listen to what's up there. Okay, you have to really use your heart, because if you ask yourself a question and you get an answer in language or numbers or facts, that your brain is speaking. If you ask a question to yourself in your heart, you feel it in your emotion, you feel it in your body, you see it in colors or nondescript things, it's coming from your heart. Test it. If it's coming from the heart, you'll have a higher probability you're right. Okay? If it's coming from the mind, it's playing the ego game, and it's going to basically get in the way. So do you understand the intentions of your others, and what motivates you to add value, and what motivates for you to add value to each other, right? Okay. Do you have empathy for somebody else is a fresher and they're underwater and they're working their butts off every night and they don't get it and their work quality has gone down, and because nobody's helping them, did you step up and actually help them lift them up out of the hole, right? Are you committed to meeting expectations of the customers and then trust that and earn the trust and respect, or are you hiding behind something because you're afraid somebody's going to call you out, right? Do you have empathy for what the customer is going through? I mean, you think Sandeep doesn't have a big job to explain to stand up and say, Forces is a company, we want to do more business with them. He takes a lot of risk for that, right? There's a lot of companies you can do that with. And he has to just be empathetic about his job. I mean, every time we do something that has a ripple effect that comes up through him, and now he's got to do an escalation. He's got to do a call us out for little stuff. Take that noise off of his plate. He's got big enough problems, right? So step up and be empathetic about your peers, as well as your horizontal and vertical in your, let's just say, organizational hierarchy. Okay. Be sensitive to people's anxieties. Okay, some people can't handle this kind of stress. IT jobs are one of the top stressful jobs on the planet. Okay, second to an air traffic controller, and I'm sure another one, but it's, we're like within the top three. Okay, urgency and perseverance, action-oriented things. So are you driven by getting things done, or are you just gonna I'll wait till somebody tells me when it's due, right? So look at it from that perspective. Okay. This, you can make up your own story. These are my stories. so are you really action oriented? I'll give you an example. We're trying to hire some people in the organization, and our normal cycle time to get resumes through our process it takes a long time. I received a resume in the afternoon, and the next day I had a response to the RMG team about the candidate, and I literally wasted no time. It was an important role for the position. I called the person. I didn't go through protocol. I didn't worry about, I'm gonna, I got to go through a process and make sure they, RMG is notified. I'll put a meeting on the calendar. I'll get 4 people to get involved to tell me that this time slot works for me. Right? I just picked up the phone and called him. Okay. Now that's a small example of taking action and taking ownership and accountability. No one had to tell me what to do. I just picked up the call and made the calls, and I went through it. Something that would have taken 5 days happened in half a day. Okay, take the action to do it. Okay, and let me tell you what, if somebody asks you to put a resume and do a resume review, and you're part of the vetting process for the team to bring new team members on, if you're not prioritizing that, shame on you, because that means you're going to have to work harder tomorrow because one more person's not on the team yet. Okay. All right. Next one. Identify critical activities that help other people reach goals and eliminates the roadblocks. Right. This is being critical thinking. Some of you, if you get past the storming phase and you go to the norming phase, this is a collaboration effort. This is where you have to look at this from all angles and look at the blind spots that you have. Right? You may have a blind spot. You may think it's the right thing to do, but if everybody thinks they're chief and bosses, and no one has decision rights, you're going to have a problem here. You'll be back to the storming phase. Okay, you'll never get past that. Never give up, never surrender. Anybody see that movie? Who's a Star Trek guy, person, lady? Never give up, never surrender. Okay, I'll have to send you guys. It's a theme that I have in my DNA. I never give up. I never surrender. I will concede and I'll learn from it, but I never surrender. I will go forward. It's like giving up the ghost, right? You never give up, because you just give up, and then the left side of the brain kicks in, and you go, oh, I failed, and now all these things happen, and that goes back to the mindset things, right? So those are the kind of things. Create focus, but create focus around a common vision. If you guys don't agree on a common vision, whenever I go into a situation where people are blocking me, I step back and I go, how can I see the problem from their lens? Okay, a lot of people who say they block you, they're trying to tell you you're doing something that they don't agree with, and from their lens. Try to understand their lens and try to see if that lens is a blind spot for you. Okay, you may see it. You may find something by seeing it from their perspective, but then at the end of the day, be collaborative about what's the common vision that's going to lead you guys into that, right? So common vision is it's an icebreaker. If you can all set up, and like I said, the team building exercise to go outside and go from forming to storming to performing in a few hours of teamwork, right? You can do that in your work, in your job as well, right? It's all about having a common goal and a common outcome, and having a competitive spirit along the way to do your best. Okay. So what's the environment? I'm going to cover the environment. It's basically creating a rich environment which is open and collaborative based on dialogue and interaction. Now, there's a communication thing we're going to talk about. Okay, where does communication get in the way? Okay, provides more clear, concise purpose and to rally the people around things. Now, this rallying thing, you got to be careful you're not in that left side where the compression thinking is, but go on the expansion thinking. The rallying thing really works well when you're in expansive thinking, but not in compression thinking. So if you find a negative problem and you all rally towards a negative, game over. You might as well just blow it up and go home, okay? Because you're not going to get out of that hole. There's a saying, and I think it might have been Einstein or somebody else. You can look it up. That a problem cannot be created from the perspective and the level it was created. It can only be solved from a level above it. So if you see a problem and you're solving it and you're brute forcing through the problem and you're not solving and you keep hitting a wall, you got to come out of your thinking. You got to change your thinking and see it from a new level. Okay, that's when you see it more clearly. You'll see the macro view and you can move forward. And that macro view comes from common vision as well. Okay. Do you have a clear, concise sense of purpose and rally people around you? Once again, it's about environment. Are you teamwork? Are you pulling together? Right. This is assuming that you've reached this. You reached the performing stage or even the norming stage, right? So you need to evaluate if you guys are struggling on your project teams and having the workshops and having the interactions that might create some friction. You've by the collective answer here, you have said that you're feeling like you're still in the norming phase. I'm sorry, in the forming phase. I'm sorry, phase two, the norming. Then maybe that's why you're struggling. You need to change your mindset, right? Switch your mindset, change your language, and do that. Okay. Motivating and inspiring other people. Lift everybody up. Catch them. Don't catch somebody doing something right. Don't catch them doing it wrong all the time. They never want to see you again, right? You keep catching them doing something wrong, they're gonna get sick and tired of you, and then not only do you have a problem, then you're gonna go tell your friends, and you're gonna go on the negative bandwagon. You're gonna go to the water cooler and say this guy, this gal, da 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 da, blah blah blah. Oh, everybody's rashing together. Guess what you just did? All that energy goes towards generating adrenaline in your body. It's the number one toxic drug on the planet. It's the most powerful drug on the planet. You marshal towards adrenaline. You're basically marshaling towards self death. Okay. Anger is the number one generator of adrenaline. You get angry, you want an adrenaline run, you're going to want more adrenaline. You're going to 2 seconds later be angry again. Okay. You're not going to solve any problems because now you're stuck in the loop of trying to solve a problem at the level you created it. You got to stop the adrenaline, take a deep breath, go into your heart space, meditate, walk away, don't kick the dog, come back and solve the problem. Okay. All right. So I say that knowing that I've got only about 6 more minutes, and I don't know if you guys have tolerance to stay with me longer, but I'm going to show you some things. So the complexity of team causes some of these problems. Okay. Guess what happens? How many people do you rely on or talk to do your job? If there's 3 people, you got 3 lines. 4 people, you got 6 lines. 5 people, you got 10 lines of communication. You got 6 people. It is literally it's factorial theory, right? It's and maybe even more if you really do factorial theory, right? So you look at the number of people you have to talk to or interact with to do your job. And by the way, those aren't people. Those are emails, text messages, communications. It's all the formats, right? All the things that now you got to reconcile in your head and pull it all together. The fewer people you are in a self-directing and let's just say autonomous team that has a function and a role towards a common goal, which fits together towards a bigger goal, that's when you're going to have the magic in your team. I saw in some of the query the survey questions that is the team size small or big, and a lot of you all said the team size was not big enough. I would challenge you to think differently. Okay, if you empower yourself to work better with your colleagues to collaboratively do that and keep your team more high energy and laser focused, I bet you will get better communication and less problems than going and adding more people and growing your team size. You may need to grow outside the team, but that's what project managers and liaisons across this, leads across the teams do for you. Okay, let them handle the noise if your team size has to scale. Okay, that's one of the things that Sandeep called out in his video. If you watch the video, he said he actually quoted numbers about Harvard Business School has done studies on team size. The smaller teams are more effective and more successful in projects, especially in IT. Okay, so don't ask for more because you think more people were needed because somebody else has got to do that job and somebody else got to do that job. The truth is, you need to stretch yourself to do more, so now you're more valuable and you be more marketable. Okay, inside and quite honestly, in your career, wherever you go. Okay, we all know we want more money, we want more things and all that stuff, but you're not going to get it if you don't do one thing. One trick pony does not go anywhere. Okay, but somebody who can stretch themselves and be very valuable across your team and empower other people to do the same, you will find yourself to be such a highly performing team that is not even funny. Okay, so that's a visual that I thought was worth it. You can look at the types of communications. Not all things are said. Look at the nonverbal. Just the nonverbal alone will kill you. You walk into the office like this. I had a bad day. Kick the dog. Right? How do you think your teammate's going to feel? You're going to just dump all your energy on them. Right? Come into the office and lift them up. Leave your dog behind. Leave your garbage in your head behind. Say a prayer, say meditation, whatever you have to do to clean your field, clean your chakras. Do chakra cleaning. Literally, start from the bottom, go all the way to the top, and clear your chakras. What I do when I go into a dense situation is I leave the room and I clear my chakras and I'll send the negative energy to the earth and the planet and I'll let it do its job. I can't solve that one. Let the planet handle it. Okay. Let the universe handle it and take that, or you're just going to take it out on your kids and you're going to take it on your coworkers. Okay. So nonverbal communication, you can do a deep dive on that on the internet and on all the behaviors, literally from, eyebrows and eyes and attitude, right? I think the solution to the nonverbal communication umbrella of problems is just be heart-centered. Come from a heart-centered place that you're here to grow and help people grow in your peer groups to be successful, and you'll be laser focused on your vision together. If you don't do that, nothing's going to work. Okay. All right. Small versus big. Read this later. This is the scientific study being done on the small versus big, and I've got 2 book references for you guys. The World is Flat. If you want to read it, it's a little dated. This is version 3.0 updated. It was updated recently for the current generation of things. He's maintained these versions of the books for the last 3 decades. The problems have not been solved yet, but it starts from your mindset shift. Okay, no one's going to solve problems from the outside. Be the change you want to be. Okay, and then this other one I actually think is a new one. I just recently read this one. Dan Sullivan and Dan Sullivan's the brains behind this one. It's called The Gap in the Gain, and it's how you look at the problem, and it's worth looking up. Just Google The Gap in the Gain, and you'll find visual and small excerpts. This is a very short book, small excerpts. You don't have to buy the whole book. You can get most of the ideas just by Googling it. Okay, it's worth a look. Okay, so I say this with 2 minutes overtime. But I bet you guys want to see one thing. You want to see the results of the scores. I do too. I haven't seen them yet. So, how are you guys on? Can you guys go over maybe another 5 minutes, or are you guys? Is somebody's going to be screaming and hollering at you like Vinod? Vinod, you please give me the cue. Should I go a few more minutes?
Yeah. Yes, Tim.
Okay, thank you for the permission, because he's the gatekeeper, not me. You have to answer to him, right? Sometimes I have to answer to him. Sometimes, hey, just like I said, my hat, my role, my title doesn't matter. I'm here to service and make sure Vinod can be successful. That's my job. It's that simple. Okay. I want you to think of that. Why you think there's no hierarchy here. Okay. All right. So let's go to the survey. By the way, I have not peeked at this other than an hour ago. So this is all brand new. I'm going to see it the same time you are. Okay. How skilled are people at the jobs? Extremely skilled, very skilled, and somewhat skilled. So you're in sort of a split on the. So this tells me you all think that everybody has mostly the right skills, and maybe 30%, maybe about 30, you think that you're somewhat skilled to do the job. Okay. So I don't know what the truth is. This is just facts, just what your answers. Okay. Let's look at that. How professionally do the team members behave? So this had a little bit of insight. Very professional, 50%. About half of you think the world is great. The other half, the other half think, the world is awesome. And the other 30% of you go, it still sucks a little bit. Okay. All right. And I want to know where they go. 2.7% of you need to get out of your negative brain thinking and go the other way and think about, are they really not so professional? It's not about you think the people are not being professional. It's you might be still in the forming stage and you haven't actually gone over to the next side, right? And that's the problem, right? And you're still in that fighting thing, right? So, all right, next one. How honest are you with each other? Wow, this is interesting numbers. Extremely honest, very honest, somewhat honest, not so honest. Let me guess. The not so honest is probably 1.9%, 2.7%. It's not. So one person answering the same question. You need to find them on the team and take them outside and do meditation with them. Him or her. It could be her. All right. Can you tell I enjoy my job? Can you tell I really want to help you guys and see the world differently? I didn't get to where I'm at, not because I'm successful. I mean, I've had plenty of failures in my life, okay? But this is about just helping each other out, okay? Be a team, be a community of it's a forces family. It's forces. It's the force of us, okay? All right. How well do team members share responsibility and tasks? Okay, extremely well, very well, somewhat well. These are not bad, actually. These are not bad. It's not like everybody's going to say, "Oh, the world is great." At least you answered honestly. And I made it anonymous because I don't want people to think that I'm picking on you. You'll see this and you'll know where you're coming from. Now that I've talked about the mindset and the approach, I want you all to think about. If you answered it this way, we're going to do another survey. But when you guys get over the hurdles, you guys are going through, your next milestones. I want to have a conversation once you feel like you had, hey, everybody's high fiving, and maybe some people are going to still laying on the ground, and somebody hopefully picked them up, right? All right, next one. How well does your supervisor work with clients? How well does your supervisor work with clients? Okay, so I'm not sure what the hierarchy is, or this is all about Vinod. I have no idea. Just kidding. So if you have a hierarchy, this is the supervisor question. Who you meant to be your supervisor, right? So very well, and somewhat well, and let me say 2.9%. 2.7% is there, still there. Okay. How efficiently are team members meetings conducted? Very well, extremely well, somewhat well, not efficiently at all. Okay, 2.7. Okay, this is an interesting one. We got some new numbers in here, so not so efficiently. So Rika, might be worth a look in this one. Even Anshul, right? Might be worth a look into these, right? How are we conducting our meetings? What are we doing different? How can we empower people? How can we put them into smaller groups, not bigger groups? Bigger is not better. Do not put 75 people in a room or 35 people in a room and think you're going to get anything good out of it. Okay. Break it down.
Yeah, we have already divided basically into the 3 groups. So we are doing it now.
Thank you. Who was speaking? Anshul?
Anshul. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Anshul. I thought I recognized you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How well do the team members communicate with each other? Somebody's lying. I'm hearing different things. All right. I'm having fun with you. Somebody's not lying. Some of you are telling the truth. This is how you feel. It doesn't matter what the reality is. This is how you're feeling, right? When I talk to your leaders and I get to know a little bit more. I've been on some of your calls, in case you didn't notice. Okay, Rika, you remember? I was on some of your calls. I'm Anshul.
Yeah, that's
so don't
correct.
Yeah.
don't be surprised. I'm a hands-on guy. I'm going to jump on calls and I'm going to see if you're embodying the behaviors I'm hoping that you see. Okay, and if I see you guys yelling at each other and not helping each other, I might have a personal conversation with you. Okay.
Surely.
Okay. All right. Don't be scared because I show up on a call. It's because I really care. Okay. All right, next one. Hardworking. How hardworking is a supervisor? Okay, this must be all be about Vinod, right? Because it says very hardworking, I guess, right? No, that's not true. So it's obviously everybody feels like there's no shortage of hard work, right? This could have been all over the board, but it's not. A good chunk of this hard work is what is coming through. But now look at the hard work and see what are you working on. Can you be smarter about it? Can you collaborate in a different way? Can you learn from each other and help each other up, right? Give your colleague a helping hand, right? And maybe somebody's working hard and you went home early and somebody's working late, right? Stay late and understand their problem. Maybe they need some help. Okay. How well does your team meet the deadlines? Always, most of the time, about half the time. Okay, so Anshul, I'm going to ask you if there's bullshit in here. Rika?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tim, can you please repeat that question? Sorry, missed that out.
On the screen, how often does your team think it meets its deadlines? Always, most of the time. This looks like it's a happy path. Everybody thinks, yeah, it's mostly good. Is that true?
Yeah,
It's okay.
It's somehow, yeah, it's somehow true, but they have invested a lot of time to meet the deadlines. This is the truth. So even they are doing more than what we are expecting. Like they're extending their timelines to meet the deadlines. That's why we somehow manage our timelines right now.
That's great. If that's, I want to get a sanity check from some of you guys on the ground that are living this, right? How do you
Yeah.
feel like these are mostly truthful answers? Do you guys feel so far? Put a thumbs up. Say yeses on there on the chat. Do you feel like it's more aligned with you feel like the truth of what's going on the ground? I didn't mean raise hand. I meant just put yes or no that you feel like we're, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's good. All right. This is it's your own survey. It's just it's your team talking to each other, right? It's not me. How well does your supervisor handle criticism? Very well, extremely well, somewhat well, not so well. Let me guess, 2.7%. Yep, there it is. Okay. And 36%, hold on a second, let's do the math. 2.7%, 30, who's going to do the math for me? We got 36 respondents and oh, not so fairly. Which one was it? This just went up. Somebody's answering the survey as we speak. What's this one? Well, 2.7% of 36. What's that? How many? What's the count? Oh, it's right here. The numbers are right here. Not so well. One person. It's one person needs a little bit of work, and that's not a problem. Everybody comes from a position. This tells us that you're noticing the stresses are on the edge of what we're doing. Okay, so it's okay. So you don't have to do the math. It's right here. One person. Okay. All right. How fairly are responsibilities shared among your team? This one is all over the board. I was quite surprised. It's mostly good, somewhat a little bit more. So maybe we need to look at the workload balance, and maybe this is about, maybe it's a combination of skill level and quantity of work. So somebody feels like they've got too much work because the skill is lower, but they expect to do more. There's some dynamic in here that might be worth looking into, Rika and Anshul, just to see how we can analyze this information a little further. Okay.
Okay.
Sure, sir.
How politely do your team members treat each other? Somewhat politely, blah, blah. Okay, so it's, once again, these are not bad numbers. Nothing's going to be perfect, guys. It's like a family, okay? How many brothers and sisters have you not fought with? So I don't know about yours, but every family's got one of those. So how quickly does your team adjust to changing priorities? This is an interesting one. Very quickly, mostly not. So this is an interesting one. So change is hard, and changing priorities is an organizational thrash. You start thrashing an organization, the cost to get realigned is too high. So we have to look at this from a program management perspective, okay? We need to be very clear on priorities and keep the team, and we need to buffer the team so they don't thrash, because it's easier to thrash 3 people than to thrash 33 people, okay? And we need to, because the whole point of changing priorities is it could change again, right? So being overly communicative and overly early and communicating some of these things might cause people to have emotional stress when they worked nights and days for one thing and now the priority changed. Okay, so leadership needs to take into place into what's the right information at the right time. Okay. How quickly does your team act on decisions? Yeah, this is you got a higher score for very quickly, extremely quickly, so not so bad. What would you say your team has too few meetings? Too many or too few? So you basically too many is a bulk of it, right? But then again, you guys are working on things that requires a lot of communication, right? Once again, is that other chart, right? How many lines? So maybe the better answer is how. If I would qualify, maybe make this question a little bit more granular. The next question would be: could you have accomplished the same meeting with a fewer people?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the third question I says is, who do you not want in the meeting so you can actually get the decisions made? Okay.
Right.
Because there's a lot of them. Because what happens is, guys, we try to be overly polite. We try to be overly polite and say, oh, everybody's got to have their word. The truth is, by the time you hear everybody's word, it's already in 1 hour. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Schedule 33-minute or 25-minute meetings, not 1 hour meetings. The 5 minutes between the two meetings is so you can reset your brain so you can go to the next one if you have another meeting, right? But it's really about if you make more precise meeting times, you have much more efficient communication. You only come to the meeting and speak what you want to say, and not all the BS that's verbal diarrhea that's going to come out that's going to say all the negative things. Focus on what the goal is and what needs to be done. So think about shortening your meetings for more effective meetings and your team size as ideas. I'm not saying go do this. Rika and Anshul, look at these principles to see what could work, knowing where you are in this phase of the project, knowing that you're also a level 2 in your team forming, and you got to leapfrog this. Okay.
Right.
All right. Is your team too large or small? Is it right? Actually, this number came up. I was surprised earlier. Some people said it was too small. So interesting. Too large. This is 1.2. So one person, 27 people here. Okay. So this is interesting. So that gives you a sense for, are we balanced? This obviously has some. It's not exactly a bell curve, so it'd be interesting to look at this one. Okay. I don't know what team size relates to in terms of efficiency, and you guys will need to look at that, right? And what that balancing act is, okay? And empower the team that's there. Do not have somebody second guess their work. Empower them, okay? This goes back to having cross-functional teams that can actually not only support each other when BA can do a program job, or a developer can do a BA's job, or all those things that we just talked about, right? How likely would it be to recommend a friend or colleague? Wow, interesting. All this good work, and then no one really wants everybody to come work, and you're not going to invite your friends to come work here? What are you saying? What are you guys actually saying then? Only 20%. The highest we got was not at all, was 20%. 10. 3 of you, yeah, so it's, well, there's not likely to highly likely, right? So this comes down to, this not really not at all. This 0 is not at all. So the green is extremely likely. Gray, whatever that is on the score. But it's, you guys got low marks in general to say you're not going to invite your friends to the party. Then you wonder why you were working so hard. Okay. Anyway, very telling. Okay, now I'm going to just take my screen shares off, and I just had some. This is a Q&A time, and I'm going to see if there's anybody had. Oops, I can't. Where's my screen share? Did I stop my screen share already? You can still see.
Tim, we weren't able to see your screen all this while we were going through
You are kidding me. When were you guys going to tell me this? Holy mackerel. So, okay. All right. I will create a PDF of what I have, and I will send it to you. You guys are being okay. This is a classic example of what's that? It's the emperor with no clothes. You know the story. When was somebody going to tell me this? Thank you, Rika. At the end, who brought it up? Rika, you didn't get it. Somebody said in the background. Okay, I can take this. I can take the heat. Okay. All right.
So
So
actually, when we asked you the question, no, when I asked the follow-up question, that time when you mentioned where's the board, I realized probably you were sharing.
oh my gosh. Okay. The charts look beautiful. Okay. So I want to take some questions. I didn't see many pop up in the chat. So any questions or thoughts from you guys? What is it? Just give you a few minutes. What do you want to know from me about what's relevant to what you're doing today? I mean, obviously, I'm not running the program. You got leaders that do that. What can I do to give you some insight? I will say a couple of things before you maybe ask your first question. This team that you guys are in is vital to the success of Forces. Okay, every project and every customer is vital, but I will tell you this: that the scale of visibility and what we're doing is just paramount. It's going to be a game changer for Forces. Okay, and what we do coming out of this team and what you show that a team can do and scale is what we want other things. Hitachi Vantara is coming on the heels of this one. Okay, it's going to be bigger than this. Okay,
Right.
and we need to be prepared for that. And we as a company need to really embrace that this is it takes a village to make something happen here, right? So I would encourage you to think of that this isn't just about I'm here to do my job today and then I'm leaving, or 1% of you, 2.7% are maybe quitting. I don't know. I'm just joking, but the point is, I want that to be zero by the time you hit the end of this project and know how well you did, because this is vital, and it is shown by the client being, publicly standing and saying how much they trust us as an organization and empower us to be their partner. Okay, and don't forget that that's where we started. We started with this whole thing where this is a big deal for the customer. It's changing their game, and it is a big deal for Forces, and it's a partnership, and it takes a team to put this together, right? So any questions, please? Feel free to raise your hand instead of typing. It's okay. In the room, anybody? Because you're all sharing.
Yeah. Anyone in the room? Any questions for Tim?
Was this a useful exercise in just stepping out of your brain for a second and not doing programming or project management or QA work, and just stopping and going, this is what's really happening and how can we do better, right? Is this useful?
Yeah, it was definitely Tim.
Yes,
Okay,
Tim.
Rika, we're not allowing you to speak. Well, I want the people on the ground to speak. Rika and Anshul, you can't speak on it anymore. And so it's Nova Node.
All right.
Please.
Yeah.
Perfect. Team, over to you. Let's have some open conversation.
Yes. I will make more time
have
for
mic
deeper
there, sir.
conversations on any one of these topics if you feel like you want to make time. It doesn't have to be taking away from your daily priorities. I will wake up late if I need to because of my time zone, and I will spend time with you. I committed that to Vinod. I'm committed to make sure you guys know that I'm supporting you guys, and I'm here. It is not perfect. We all have stress in our jobs, but how we handle the stress represents how you will work with your neighbor tomorrow. Okay. So yeah, please, another question. Anybody? Okay. Next time I'm on a call, I don't want you guys to be shy. Tell me when my cameras and my screen is not working, and tell me that what you're really thinking, because I know you're in a large format. You don't want to publicly maybe say what's on your mind. You reach out to me privately if you need to. My door's open. Okay.
Thank you,
Sure,
Tim.
Yeah.
Thank you for indulging me the extra few minutes. Well, it's actually more like 30 minutes extra, almost 25. Okay, I will send an email now. If people join this meeting and were not on the meeting invite, please send the link I will send to your colleagues. Okay, so I don't miss somebody who joined late. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so
I
much.
did record this, Rika and Anshul. I'll make this available so y'all can and a transcript if somebody wants it. Okay.